Winnie the Pooh, Chapter 1. Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself. One day when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest, and in the middle of this place was a large oak tree, and from the top of the tree there came a loud buzzing noise. Winnie the Pooh sat down at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself, "That buzzing noise means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that, just buzzing and buzzing, without it meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody's making a buzzing noise. And the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee." Then he thought another long time, and said, "And the only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey." And then he got up and said, "And the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it." So he began to climb up the tree. He climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, and he climbed, and as he climbed he sang a little song to himself, and it went like this. "Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, 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 I wonder why he does." Then he climbed a little further, and a little further, and then just a little further, and by that time he had thought of another song. "It's a very funny thought that if bears were bees, they'd build their nests at the bottom of trees. And that being so, if the bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb up all these stairs." Pooh was getting rather tired by this time, so that is why he sang a complaining song. He was nearly there now, and if he just stood on this last branch... Crack! "Oh, help!" said Pooh as he dropped 10 feet onto the branch below him. "Oh, if only I hadn't... Oh!" he said as he bounced 20 feet onto the next branch. "Of course, it was rather... Oh!" he admitted as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. "It all comes at last, I suppose," he decided, as he said goodbye to the last branch, spun round 3 times, and flew gracefully into a gorse bush. "It all comes of liking honey so much. Oh, help!" He had crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. So Winnie the Pooh went round to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. "Good morning, Christopher Robin," he said. "Good morning, Winnie the Pooh," you said. "I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you." "A balloon?" you asked. "Yes. I just said to myself coming along, I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said it to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering." "What do you want a balloon for?" you asked. Winnie the Pooh looked round to see that nobody was listening and put his paw to his mouth and said in a deep whisper, "Honey." "But Pooh, you don't get honey with balloons." "I do," said Pooh. "Well, it just happened that you had been to a party the day before at the house of your friend Piglet's, and you had balloons at the party. You had a big green balloon, and one of Rabbit's relations had a big blue balloon, but that relation had left it behind, being really too young to have gone to a party at all, and so you had brought the green and the blue one home with you." "Which balloon would you like, Pooh?" you asked him. Pooh put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. "Well, it's like this," he said. "When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is not to let the bees know you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you were only a part of the tree and not notice you. And if you had a blue balloon, they might think you were only part of the sky and not notice you. And the question is, which disguise is most likely?" "Pooh, wouldn't they notice you under the balloon, of either color?" you asked. "Well, they might or they might not," said Winnie the Pooh. "You can never tell with bees." He thought for a moment and said, "I shall try to look like a small black cloud. That will deceive them." "Well, then you had better have the blue balloon," you said, and so it was decided. Well, you both went out with the blue balloon, and you took a stick with you just in case, as you always did. And Winnie the Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of, and he rolled and rolled until he was black all over like a little black cloud. And then, when the balloon was blown up as big, you and Pooh were both holding onto the string. You let go suddenly, and Pooh Bear floated gracefully up into the sky and stayed there, level with the top of the tree, and about 20 feet away from it. "Hooray!" you shouted. "Oh, isn't that fine?" shouted Winnie the Pooh down to you. "What do I look like?" "You look like a bear holding onto a balloon," you said. "Not," said Pooh anxiously, "not like a small black cloud in a blue sky?" "No, not very much," you said. "Ah, well, perhaps from up here it looks different. And as I say, you can never tell with bees." There was no wind to blow Pooh any closer to the tree, so there he stayed. He could see the honey, he could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. After a little while he called down to you. "Christopher Robin," he said in a loud whisper. "Hello?" "I think the bees suspect something." "Well, what are they expecting?" "I don't know, but something tells me that they're getting suspicious." "Well, Pooh, perhaps they think you're after their honey." "It may be that. You can never tell with bees." There was another little silence, and then he called down to you again. "Christopher Robin." "Yes?" "Have you an umbrella in your house?" "I think so." "I wish you would bring it out here and walk up and down with it, and look up at me every now and then and say, 'Tut, tut, it looks like rain.' I think that if you did that, it would help the deception which we are practicing on these bees. It would make me look more like a black cloud." Well, you laughed to yourself. Silly old bear. But you didn't say it too loud because you were so fond of him, and you went home for your umbrella. "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh as soon as you got back to the tree with the umbrella. "I was beginning to get anxious. I have discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious." "Shall I put my umbrella up anyway?" you said. "Yes, but wait a moment. We must be practical. The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. Can you see which one is the queen bee from down there?" "No." "A pity. Well, now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, 'Tut, tut, it looks like rain,' I shall do what I can do by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Ready, go!" So while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie the Pooh sang this song. "How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud, floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud." The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. Some of them, indeed, left their nest and flew all round the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. And one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment and then got up again. "Christopher, ow! Robin," called out the cloud. "Yes?" "I have just been thinking, and I have come to an important decision. These are the wrong sort of bees." "Are they?" "Quite the wrong sort. So I should think they would make the wrong sort of honey, shouldn't you?" "Would they?" "Yes. So I think I shall come down now." "How?" asked you. Well, Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about how he would get back down. If he let go of the string, he would fall boom, and he did not like the idea of that. So he thought for a long time and then said, "Christopher Robin, You must pop the balloon with your stick. Have you got your stick?"
"Of course I have," you said. "But if I do that, it will spoil the balloon."
"But if you don't," said Pooh, "then I shall have to let go and fall with a bump, and that would spoil me."
Well, when you put it like this, you saw how it was, and you aimed your stick very carefully at the balloon and threw it.
"Oh!" said Pooh.
"Did I miss the balloon?" you asked.
"Well, you didn't exactly miss," said Pooh, rubbing his behind, "but you missed the balloon."
"Oh, I'm sorry," you said, and you threw the stick again. This time you hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out. And Winnie the Pooh floated to the ground. But Winnie the Pooh's arms were so stiff from holding on to the string of the balloon all that time that they stayed straight up in the air for more than a week. And whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, he had to blow it off. And I think, but I'm not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh.